This is my own Adams euphonium. It's part of the custom series. It's the model E3. Compared to the E1 model that I started with from Adams, the E3 model has different shaped tubing. One visible difference between the E3 and the E1 is this seam here is up higher. So on the E1, you'd find this ring down lower, which is kind of an easier way to spot the differences because they look identical otherwise. However, they aren't identical. The tubing shape has changed in the larger tubes, and in the bell particularly, it's wider in here. So that gives the horn a more open sound, a bigger sound, if you will. This model with a sterling silver bell actually has 4 different metals in it, 3 kinds of brass plus the sterling silver. And this is fully sterling silver, it's not just plated. The larger tubes are of gold brass, which has a little bit more copper in it. And the very small tubes, the ones around the valve cluster and the lead pipe, they're yellow brass. Adams has found that the yellow brass is more compatible with fast-acting valves, so they use that for all the small tubes. And under here we see the tuning slide, the main tuning slide, is actually of red brass. As I understand it, all their horns have that red brass tuning slide. They say it helps to give it a little better sound, a little more depth. For my horn, I chose the brushed finish. As you can see, this is all done by hand with a brush to give it the striations here that make the light diffuse and kind of move about as you play, which is a nice look. It's lacquered on top of that, though, so I don't have to polish it. And that's a nice thing because polishing would, of course, gradually smooth it over time. The brushed finish is on almost all the horn except for the accents, as you can see here, and the tuning slide ends are brighter finish. That gives a nice variety as well. The other area that is bright on the horn instead of satin is inside the bell. So it's a very attractive horn. I've gotten more compliments, I think, on the appearance of this horn than any horn I've had before, including lacquered and shiny brass and satin brass. So I like it, but of course that's a matter of taste, and Adams will build it how you choose. I've had mine customized with the Motto water keys, little push-button plungers here. They don't disrupt the flow quite as much. There's not that tunnel you see down to a normal water key. Just a very smooth passage, except for the hole where you let the water out. I've talked about the positioning of these, which are all at the bottom of the slides except for the tuning slide, and that's in a separate video why I did that. On the second one, though, I don't like pulling here to get the slide out because this is a soldered-on piece, and I just don't like pulling on something like that if I don't have to. It's got a small area of solder where the rings that are soldered on have a larger saddle, rather like these braces use. Gives you more area for contact. This is a very small area for contact, so I've had them install a stud here, and that helps me pull the second valve tuning slide very easily. Perhaps you can see the stud that way. That's one of the customizations they did for me. I think it's a very nice addition. The instrument's been customized in other ways for me. Specifically, the angles here are somewhat different to match my embouchure. That's something you can do with the Adams Custom Series. They also have the Selected Series, of course, which are not quite as expensive, and they're made to a certain standard that they figure most people will like. So they would be what you'd buy in a typical brand of horn that doesn't offer the customization that Adams offers, but still to the same high quality. But in the case of the Custom Series, you can have them do various things, including just minor things. I've had these little garnet-like inserts on the valve caps, which I really like. They don't make the horn play any better or any worse, but they're pretty and I like them. There's a quick tour of my own instrument. As you can see, there's no tuning slide trigger. The Adams is well enough in tune that I don't feel it needs one. They offer it if you want one. Without the trigger, the horn is lighter and there's less chance for damage, which is why I like not having it on the horn. Adams also would prefer not to install it because it lets the horn vibrate more freely as you play it, which is the whole concept of the Adams instruments.